It is Sunday, and I'm now back at the hotel because even though it's a weekend, we don't get a day off the incubator. But I was kicked out at 5 o'clock because the poor chap who has been looking after us this week, he didn't want to stay longer than 5 o'clock on a Sunday, and I felt really bad because I was the only one who was kind of left there anyway. So I've come back to the hotel to just catch up on a little bit of extra work. And interestingly, in Germany, on Sundays, all the shops shut. Now, that used to happen in the UK back in maybe the 80s and 90s. But it caught me a little bit off guard because what I've been doing is on the way home, I've just been picking up some groceries and eating back in the hotel. But not today because all the shops are shut. So fortunately, I've still got some of those terrible fig biscuits left. So that is my dinner this evening. However, we're not going to complain about that. So just a quick update on what we've been working on. And interestingly, the in-person part of the incubator, it's not actually been as intense as the pre-program has been, as the remote part. And that's caught me a little bit by surprise because we've had pretty much a lecture and a workshop in the morning and then another lecture or workshop in the afternoon. But the rest of the time, it's been pretty much just free work time to kind of do your own projects and catch up on your tasks and things like that. And so that's been quite surprising. I thought it would be a little bit more intense, but a lot of the people who are here on the incubator, they haven't yet fully worked out what their idea is and what they're building. So a lot of people are working in groups. So there's a lot of kind of sitting on bean bags together and throwing ideas around, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's not quite as intense as I thought it would be in person. I don't know if that will change over the next couple of days. There's lots of interesting things booked in. I will say, however, the lectures and workshops, discussions, whatever you're going to call them, that we've had, they have been excellent. And they have been facilitated by some amazing people. So we've had Matthew Glover in today, and Matthew's done 2 talks. He did the first one on what mistakes he's made as a business person, which was very entertaining, actually. He went through his early businesses, which were both very successful and very chaotic in equal measures. And he made money and lost money equally by the sound of it. And he showed some very interesting photos, which I'll put on screen now. Of Matthew, that is Matthew Glover. That is Matthew Glover, if you know Matthew when he was younger. I should have added there, Matthew is the guy who founded the Veganuary movement, as well as Veg Capital, VFC, Vegan Food Group, Gen V, which used to be $1 Million Vegan, and lots of other things as well. So Matthew's probably done more business-wise and commercially in the vegan movement than anybody else. So it's been great to have Matthew on board doing a couple of talks with us as well. Today, we also had a talk from Tobias Lienhardt, who is the co-founder of ProVeg. And Tobias gave a really interesting talk on approaching vegan activism in a really pragmatic way. And this was interesting because it goes against the grain of many vegans, and it's not always a comfortable discussion to have. But he was pointing out that the people in the world who aren't vegan but reduce their meat intake, they actually have a bigger impact on reducing animal suffering than vegans do, because there are far more of them. There are far more people who are happy just to eat a little bit less meat. And you'll know as a vegan, when you meet somebody, they always say, well, I don't eat much meat. Well, those people are actually making a bigger impact than vegans in terms of the number of animals killed for food. And that's what he means by a pragmatic approach, because as vegans, we've sometimes got that cut off, that whole idea that you've either got to be vegan or nothing, when a lot of the time actually engaging people to reduce their meat consumption, that makes more of an impact, because people are a lot more likely to do that than actually go completely vegan. So if that's the case, then a lot of activism should actually be looking at meat reduction strategies over actually trying to turn people vegan. So that was an interesting viewpoint. And, you know, he wasn't presenting it saying, look, this is 100% right. He was saying, look, this is a pragmatic approach. It doesn't sit well with lots of people, but actually, you know, if you look at it purely logistically, that's a far better way to do activism as well. He was also talking about this idea that a lot of vegan campaigners, we talk about trying to change attitudes towards using animals in the food system, when a lot of the time you can actually just try and change a behaviour, and changing that behaviour then retrospectively changes people's attitudes. And he used the examples of when seat belts were introduced back in the 1980s, that when they made seat belts mandatory in cars, it was widely hated. People absolutely hated having to wear seatbelts. But 10 years later, they did a survey of people's attitudes towards wearing seatbelts in cars. And almost universally, everybody was very pro seatbelts, just because they kind of got used to the idea of wearing them. So that was interesting as well, that sometimes just by getting people to eat less meat and move more towards plant-based foods, you are actually, by changing their behaviour, you are changing their mindset at the same time. So that was just an interesting approach. And he gave some very good case studies on that and worked through some really interesting stats. So yeah, do go look him up. He is known as the vegan strategist. So if you just Google that, he's from Belgium originally. He's the co-founder of ProVeg, Tobias Leenaert. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, go take a little bit more look. What else did we do today? Actually, one interesting thing we did was we took a personality test. Now, if you remember right back at the start of the incubator, I did this entrepreneur test to see what sort of entrepreneur I was. Well, this was just a general personality test to see what my personality type was. And it's called the Enneagram test. It might be something you've come across before. And it asks you about 50 questions, and they're sliding scale questions. And at the end of it, it gives you a number and tells you about what personality type you were. And apparently, I am a personality type 8. And yeah, that meant absolutely nothing to me too. So I was just reading about what a personality type 8 is. And I think the idea of doing this is, if you are going into business, you need to know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, especially if you're going to be working with other people. And a lot of people who are here on the incubator, they're trying to find, or they're very open to perhaps having a co-founder of somebody else who's on the incubator who's working on a similar idea as well. So by kind of knowing what personality type you are, that probably really helps that out. So personality type 8, let me just read out what I am. It's a little bit like a horoscope, this. It's quite fun. It says, we have named personality type 8 the Challenger. That's me. Because of all the types, 8s enjoy taking on challenges themselves as well as giving others opportunities that challenge them to exceed themselves in some way. 8s are charismatic. Ding! and have... So I'm a bit tired at the moment. I'm not that charismatic. 8s are charismatic and have the physical and psychological capacities to persuade others to follow them into all kinds of endeavours. From starting a company, to rebuilding a city, to running a household, to waging war, and to making peace. 8s have enormous willpower and vitality, and they feel most alive when they are exercising these capacities in the world. They use their abundant energy to affect changes in their environment and to leave a mark on it, but also to keep the environment, and especially other people, from hurting them and those that they care about. At an early age, 8s understand that this requires strength, will, persistence, and endurance, qualities that they develop in themselves and which they look for in others, which I thought was quite interesting. And it says here too at the bottom, where is it? 8s are the true rugged individualists of this test. More than any other type, they stand alone. They want to be independent and resist being indebted to anyone. They often refuse to give in to social convention. Well, that's just kind of veganism in general, isn't it? And they can defy fear, shame, and concern about the consequences of their actions. 8s are extraordinarily tough and can absorb a great deal of physical punishment without complaint. Now, that last bit is 100% me, or rather that's something that Lisa takes advantage of, because whenever we go shopping, it's not a very vegan analogy this, but she does treat me like a pack horse. And I am the one who is carrying everything, especially the shopping up the several flights of stairs to our apartment. And indeed, I've often said that the one thing I am good at is carrying. So I guess that kind of works it out. So interestingly, so I now know what personality type I am. I am a number 8. So there we go. So we're going to do something with that tomorrow. So Melanie Joy, who I mentioned earlier because she was the person, Dr. Melanie Joy, whose workshop that I went to at the International Animal Rights Conference, she's coming in to do a session with us tomorrow about our personality types. So we did that as a little bit of a preempt. So that's going to be interesting just to see what we go through there. If you want to take this test yourself, and I'd advise you do, because it's actually quite interesting, just search for the Enneagram Institute, Enneagram Personality Test. So that's ENNEAGRAM, the Enneagram Institute, the Enneagram Personality Test. And you'll find that it's just free to do. It asks you to try and buy the report at the end, but you don't need to do it. It can just send you an email with some results in it. So there you go. So I will be back there 8 o'clock tomorrow morning for when they open. I am tending to be sat on the doorstep waiting for them to open in the morning, and then I'm getting kicked out as late as possible at night. I am trying to get everything I can out of this opportunity. I've been here with ProVeg in Berlin. Just really because it's not the sort of opportunity that you get every day. And I think maybe because I'm a little bit older, I mean, what am I now? I'm 47, 48. I'm not that far off 50 myself. I know I don't look it. Thank you so much. But it's tick-tock. The clock is ticking. I want to make an impact in the vegan and animal rights movement. I want to help more vegans make an impact with their business. And I've been given a little bit of a golden opportunity to be guided through building something with Vegan Business Tribe to help you do that. So I'm very aware that time is ticking. 200 million land animals are killed every single day to be eaten. And every day we spend here not moving forwards is another 200 million that die. I tell you what, one thing I'll just finish on, something really interesting I've learned over the last couple of days is not all vegans are animal lovers. Now, this is something I've always struggled with a little bit because I am not, I shouldn't be saying this, should I? But I am not particularly an animal lover. I don't have a companion animal. I desperately don't get on with cats. I quite like dogs, but I don't have one living with me. I've never would describe myself as an animal lover, but I just think that killing animals and making them suffer is terrible. I think it's horrendous. I think it's very, very wrong. And when I turned vegan and I kind of learned what goes on in animal agriculture, I was angry. I was absolutely devastated that I'd played part in that, and I was really angry that I was really angry at all the propaganda which led me to that place. But I found that other vegans feel that too. So that was one of the facts which Sebastian, the founder of ProVeg, said as well. He's not particularly an animal lover. Tobias, the other co-founder, absolutely is. He rescues animals. He's done lots of kind of hands-on work with it. But there are a lot of vegans out there that just think it's wrong, even though they don't particularly consider themselves to be animal lovers. So that was quite a revelation because I've never felt I could actually come out and say that. But quite a lot of vegans come from that same place. I mean, I could equally say that I'm not, a big fan of people from Belgium, but I would think it was absolutely horrific if we were eating and killing people from Belgium. And so I guess that kind of applies to veganism as well. So interesting. Yeah, and just quite nice to know that I'm not the only one with that viewpoint. Right, slightly odd point to end on maybe. But thank you so much. Also, thank you for those people who are watching these video diaries. I've had some lovely comments, and especially, I didn't mention this before, when I was at the International Animal Rights Conference, I had several people come up to me saying that they've been watching some of these diary entries as well. So thank you so much. If you've been watching it, do send me an email on hello@veganbusinesstribe.com, or send me a WhatsApp or whatever you want to do. But it's just really nice to get that feedback too. Right. I'll try and get this edited. I'll try and put this out today, and then get to bed and start again tomorrow. Catch you later.